stupid. And if I can get rid of that mindset in parents and adults, it would be awesome. Um, so I don't think it was a book. I don't think it was TV shows or movies. Maybe it was. Maybe it's all the influence to speak your mind. But in the American culture, since I was born, it's always been stand up to bullies. So it's been, in in like Harry Potter, they're like doing what they think is right, even though they're going against what other people say. In the Hunger Games, which I was very into when I was younger, they overthrew their government as teenagers because they knew it was not right and they faced consequences. But they knew that they changed the society and they got their word out and they helped build a better land. And I see all these weird and small and insignificant problems that I feel like need to be spoken, and especially right now during the Black Lives Matter movement, people saw this as a small inconvenience that this happens once or twice, but it turns out it's happening a lot more than what people realize. And if I have the chance to change and make America, all the Americas better, I will. And that started with Hong Kong, and I saw Hong Kong want to be independent, and I saw them, they wanted to separate from China because China is such a bad influence, and they wanted to be their own independent thing. And I saw them, I was like, that is amazing. And I see all these people rise up, and, they started to try to change the world, and, we've gotten very far, farther than we ever have, and we're starting to get farther and farther to our goal.
Who's we exactly?
Who's the?
Who are you considering by we?
We, as in the Gen Z and the millennials, and anyone who's willing to listen to us.
Oh, okay, I see now. And you answered my previous question now that I was wondering what in your character sparked your idealism and wanting to be, I guess, just a hero in the world. And what I just realized is the narratives of what you've watched has been the biggest influence for you, and your goodness is what motivates you to be better and wanting to see human society progress in a better direction than what the previous generations and what human beings have done in their past by their own flaws. And that's what I think now, understanding that, I know where it came from, and the reason why I admire that. And when I was listening to you is because you're the representation for me, even though we're in the same generation. I'm Gen Z as well, but you have the idealism of youth, and I admire that. And it's been a while since I've felt that kind of essence to persevere beyond the challenges and obstacles, because they are possible with hope and faith and with courage. But it's been a while that I've interacted with somebody so young that still believes in idealisms, and you represent that to me, and it's been pretty cool to talk to you so far. Even though you're young, I understand that, well, you know how people, when they're older, the elderly get ageism is a thing. I know ageism is a thing for young people as well, because they're, as you said, perceived as being naive, foolish, and needed to be taught and disciplined, which to an extent is true. But if you give them the freedom, the creativity to experience and grab the wisdom that's necessary in their own unique life, they'll be able to use it and capitalize it and change for the better the next generation. So when I see that, I see you are one of those individuals that can, if you continue on this path. And the reason why I say if is because it's a consistency. It's like maintaining your principles, because unfortunately in my life I had a moment when I lost my idealism, but I fortunately came back to it, and I'm an idealist again. But it has to do with philosophy and life, because do you know the term nihilism?
I've not heard of it.
So in philosophy there is this term called nihilism, and what nihilism is when you lose the faith in life, the love for life, the desire to be alive. It's like a you're almost like a zombie, and you're. Have you ever interacted with anybody, internet or around your community, that seems they're very pessimistic, cynical, and do not care about life, but they're just there.
I would have to say yes, unfortunately.
So with those kind of people, they have the belief or the deep down in their unconscious, they don't believe in the in life again to strive and have the courage to create their life and have take responsibility because of what's happened to them by circumstance or how they've reacted or but that's the whole point that when you change it and you believe in the opposite of nihilism, which is being an idealist, you aspire to persevere, have the courage to make the effort, to have faith in yourself. And then when you make that action and you have someone supporting you, and then you recognize that the truth is you can change your reality, everything changes. But that takes
Definitely.
one moment of effort and courage. And for someone that's deep down in a dark hole like that, it takes a lot of support, emotional support.
I think we've all experienced the, unwillingness to get on with life and to just sit there. I definitely have. I've struggled with severe depression and bulimia when I was younger. We all have our problem. And honestly, I think the Gen Z motto is we all plan to die before we were 20. And if we're not dead, we might as well make most of it. Because I've planned to die multiple times at school shootings, at the ballistic missile that happened here. And, when my school was on lockdown, multiple times when there was threats of bombs, I thought I was going to die in all those instances. Um, and even small ones where I was on a roller coaster when I was younger and I almost flew off. Like you think you're gonna die and yet you do not. What is that keeping you here? You could have died. Why didn't you die? So, is there a purpose for me? You know, there must be something for a reason that I'm still here. Whether that's God who kept me here, whether that's the Buddha or whatever religion you believe in. If it's maybe you subconsciously know that you have a mission in life, and maybe you should take it.
Saying for your age, and I'm just taking that into consideration because you reached the level in your character where you know your own integrity and you know what you want to stand for, and that's admirable at your age because generally the youth don't know yet.
And I feel the opposite. I feel like I'm a flea under, a person. I'm so small, and yet I'm itchy, and there's swarms of me. And I am not the only one who thinks this way and feels this way at my age. We are all tiny fleas attacking a person, making them have little bumps on them, trying to, say that, hey, we're here.
Your flea
It's,
analogy is pretty funny.
like that little red bump was me. Hello, I'm making you itchy.
Yeah.
You know, I think the youth are very intelligent, and I think there's so many of us who have these opinions and have these abilities to just speak their mind, but yet are afraid. And people perceive it as the youth are stupid. Like, we're not stupid. All of us are afraid of our lives. You never know what could happen to us. The internet is such a big place that can be so dangerous if you're not careful. And most of us, we go on the internet, we go on TikTok, we go on Instagram, we go on Twitter, and we speak our minds. And we block our parents and we block our families because we don't wanna ruin our relationship with them, but yet we're so mean and racist, or they're, you know, sexist. They don't believe that women have opinions. There's so many things wrong in our personal lives that we don't share on that we are all afraid of. And us teenagers, we're so afraid that we are going to, be hurt by someone over the internet who's like, haha, look, this is a nude of them. They posted this, and our whole lives, our college careers, our careers as like a job, you know, um, our high school career, we're gonna lose friends. We're gonna lose college opportunities. We're gonna lose job opportunities just because we sent out a nude to someone we trusted. Like there's so many dangers, and teenagers are afraid. And right now, we're definitely afraid that we are going to be shot at. We're going to have a bomb. We're afraid for our lives constantly. When I was living in like a different part of the United States, I was afraid to go outside of my house because I was afraid of another shooting. Not by people, but by the police. Because they were constantly patrolling the black neighborhoods right behind mine. And it was disgusting how I was afraid of the police and not some bad guy. Because bad guys, they have a reason for doing something, if that makes any sense, They're not going to hurt a small child because, drugs. But the police are just shooting randomly. And that happened a lot in my town. And it was scary, and it was sad, and I wanted out. That's why I believe so heartedly that as teenagers, we plan to die, as I said before. And we didn't think we were going to live this long. I mean, all of us are like, well, we might as well, try to make it better. We might as well, try something. All we just want is to be respected. And if we can get out our opinions, that's awesome. I'm going in circles. I'm so sorry, but no, I just want to like give out my opinion. There's so many of us that have the same opinion, who believe the same things as I do, and that are being shadowed or cast down and say that they're not worth their time. Yeah.
I'm just taking in everything you said because, as I said, I'm Gen Z, but I'm super late Gen Zs because like I never thought, as with your experience, I didn't have to worry about school shooting or any of the issues you just faced. I fortunately got out of that right as I went into college. So with TikTok and all the influence and what influences Gen Z, whatever does it doesn't have that much of a big influence on me, but I am in the same generation, so it's like I'm in your group, I'm in your group, but I'm like an outsider looking in.
And that's why we're trying to, most of us, we can't be politicians. We can't.
Not yet, yeah.
We can't run for government. And when people say to us, I hear this a lot. I said to my mom, I think we should get rid of ICE. Mom was like, why should we get rid of ICE? Because they're keeping kids in cages and separating them from their parents. Well, that's their fault for coming here. But they came here looking for better life. And we're not giving them better life. We're telling them that they're not worth our time. And she doesn't understand that I believe in something, that I have a reason, and she's telling me, but Obama put them in cages too. I was 10. I was 4, technically, when Obama was elected as president. I wasn't here for 9/11. I wasn't here for most of the biggest events. When Obama was elected, I was 4 years old. And when he was reelected, I was like 10, 8-ish or something like that. And most of my life, the only president I ever knew was Obama. And I couldn't vote. I still can't vote to change that. So if you're going to tell me that Obama did the exact same thing, that doesn't make it okay. it makes it worse that we're having to go through this with several presidents and no president is changing it. So maybe Obama did a few good things. Maybe, um, you know, the Clintons did a few good things. Maybe Trump is doing a few good things, but that doesn't make it better that we're having all these problems and we're not fixing it. So when I'm able to vote, I will vote for someone who I actually believe in. That would be such a good president that would change these problems I have. But I don't have that ability yet. I can't vote. And I still can't vote. And it's like, you can't tell me that Obama did something. That doesn't make it okay. You tell me you're okay with it because Trump's president? I'm not okay with that. And if Obama was still president, I wouldn't be okay with that. See, my mom was complaining about the coronavirus too. She's always saying, these liberals are always telling me that Obama would have done better. But the thing is, I don't know who these liberals are. I don't know who's saying that. Obama isn't president, so who knows if he would have done better? Unfortunately, very unfortunately, Trump is our president, and he's doing a bad job at it. Coronavirus is scary, and he's just like, oh, it's a spicy flu. Oh no, he's not even calling it spicy flu, actually. He's calling it the Chinese flu or something, and saying he blames the Chinese. That's racist. That's upsetting. And he's telling people to drink bleach. I read a story about this family who basically did like a smallpox party, because back when the smallpox pandemic was happening, they would have these parties so their children could get smallpox, so then they would be immune to it. Well, basically, a lot of parents now listening to Donald Trump are having these smallpox parties for coronavirus. So she went to a church gathering where one of them had coronavirus, and all the parents were like, get corona, go get corona. And they came back very sick. And one of the girls was super sick, and she was on basically her deathbed. And her parents fed her bleach and all sorts of chemicals that President Trump said that was okay to give your child to get rid of corona. And they killed her. I don't believe anything my president tells me. Why should I? He gives me no reason to listen to him. It's just, I can't change the world, but I'm trying everything I can to try. They always told me never give up, and I'm not giving up. I'm gonna try and change this world, and I'm gonna do everything I can. And I can't vote. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna try and speak out my mind, even if it's to a couple people on this stupid website, and even if it's a couple people that will watch my TikTok, if it's a couple people that will read my tweets. A lot of my opinions are other people's opinions. I've listened to other people.
Right, but you still have your own unique formula of
Of course.
how you synthesized it.
Yes. What I'm saying is, I have these opinions and I'm saying these things because I've heard people say similar things. I've heard people complain. I've heard, people say things, but as I said before, it helps me create my own opinion. Where you gotta go around and listen, and maybe you'll learn something. If it wasn't for people telling me stories, how would I know that putting potatoes under your feet when you have a fever will work? Those small little tales your mom tells you, sometimes they're true, and sometimes they make no sense.
Like the tooth fairy.
Like the tooth fairy or Santa Claus. Definitely. I remember the time I realized that tooth fairy wasn't real because my mom gave me a bag of my baby teeth. She's a weirdo. And, you gotta grow up sometime and learn that these tales are nothing but tales, but they have a story and a meaning behind them. Like, the folk tale Aesop guy. Oh my god, why can't I remember? It's an Aesop. He used to tell
A who?
tales. Aesop, the tortoise and the hare guy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, Tortoise and the Hare was written by a philosopher. I'm sure he was. And basically, it's telling you slow and steady wins the race.
Oh, you're talking about that story.
Yes.
Okay.
Um, they have their meanings behind them. And I think everyone's story about their time that they, jumped off a cliff and bungee jumped, there's something behind that. Why are they telling me this story? Do they think it's funny? Do they think it's cool? Do they think it's impressive? Why do they want to tell me? Why choose me to tell the story to? Why choose this group to tell the story to? So why are people sharing their opinions? They're sharing their opinions to a group of people. They believe in it, and they're, you know, they trust the people around them that they are either going to agree or disagree, and it's a mutual thing that we are either going to agree with you, like, yeah, that makes sense, or they're going to disagree with you, like, that doesn't make sense. And as a person, as a human, you should listen to those opinions, and you formulate your reason why. Why don't you believe it? Like if I were to say, um, barbecue chips are my favorite. I love them because they have this cool, crispy crunch to them. Delicious. You're like, I don't agree with that. Why don't you agree with that? Because barbecue sauce makes me itch. And you're like, oh, okay, but it's not like that for everyone. Like, oh, you know, I don't like, I don't like potato chips or barbecue sauce potato chips because of that. Okay, so why don't you over here? Why don't you like barbecue chips? And you're like, oh, they just taste weird. We have our reasons, we have our opinions, and why are they telling us? Because they want us to know. You look like you have a question for me.
No, I'm just processing everything you're telling me because, as I said before, I care about these topics that you've wanted to bring up, and you're giving me insights that you're just giving me new insight on the perspective of what I thought. So I'm just listening because you're younger than I am, and it's interesting to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Like, I have never been able to say a lot of these things before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very new to me for someone to actually care what I have to say because I am known for rambling and not making sense.
Well, to tell you what I think about that, you're rambling so much because you're trying to formulate your idea while you're conversing. And because you haven't had so much time to be outspoken, and finally, when you had a moment, you're learning how to. It's like writing. You're learning how to give the first sentence is the intro and the main point of why you're discussing. Then the following sentences are your details. Then you have your concluding sentence. So imagine doing that, but instead you're doing it in a conversational style. And to do that, it takes time to be able to be present and articulate your idea while being present and talking to someone. It's a whole different style. It's the art of conversation.
Which is, normally it's very difficult for me because this is the first time in a long time where I haven't stuttered on every single word. Because, of course I have a disability where I can't formulate words because thinking of words is difficult because of dyslexia. Like reading and writing, it's hard. But no one ever really thinks that or knows that speaking and hearing can be difficult too. They just think, oh, you can't read your N's and B's and N's and B's and things like that. But it's much more than that. I have a hard time like formulating sentences in my brain. I have a hard time reading sentences, and I have a hard time hearing sentences. And um, it's difficult because no one wants to listen to a stuttering person. It's like just get on with it, spit out your words. And that's difficult. It's very difficult.
Rather, all you need is someone to be much more patient, like the turtle in your story that you said.
See, there's reasons behind everything. But this is the first time, and hopefully not the last time, I get to say a lot of these things, because when I try to tell my parents, like, hey, I learned about this, like, I was telling my mom, because we're watching the news together, because we're watching the news, and of course, all the news, like, protests, bad. And I was like, oh, I heard that in Portland, people are getting kidnapped for protesting in unmarked cars. And she's like, who told you that? I was like, I just heard it. And she's like, it's not true. It's not true. They were rioting. So, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean for you to get upset about it. I just heard it. And, who knows if it's true? I'm not in Portland. I can't see it. But hearing everyone's story and seeing all these people come out like, hey, this is happening. We need to spread awareness about it. And seeing not only videos, audios, and things like that, seeing all these people being kidnapped in these cars, these unmarked cars, by the policemen and the army men and anyone in uniform, it's kind of scary. And the fact that some people just don't believe it's happening. Another crazy thing that like I heard from my parents was we were talking about global warming, and I thought global warming wasn't like everyone knew that global warming was happening. But when I was at dinner, I was like talking about global warming with my brother, who is a few years younger than me, and my parents were like, "I don't believe in global warming." It's like, you don't believe in global warming? I thought this was a fact.
I have a question for you. Then, in your family dynamic, is the issue where they're stuck in their fixed mindset and they lack the ability to grow and empathize and hear a different perspective?
They're very, my opinion is right, if that makes sense. They're very like they don't want to listen to others. They're not empathetic. They don't want to, hear other people's opinions. And I feel like growing up with that made me want to listen to other people's opinions. It's my mom is conservative. I'm not sure about my dad, but some of the things he says, I'm like, that's kind of racist. He's like, I can't be racist. I'm Hispanic. But you can be, no matter what race you are. You can be racist.
Yeah.
Um, I get that a lot. Or my parents are being racist, and I'm like, oh, I'm not a racist. I married a Mexican. Oh, I'm not racist. I am Mexican. No, you can be racist. Um, it's so weird to me.
I understand what you mean. I
Mm-hmm.
get it.
Um, so I'm very different. Even my brother he's different from me. But, you know, hearing that my parents just don't believe things that I thought were fact, it's kind of weird. Because my dad, we were talking about it. My dad's like, global warming doesn't mean the world is heating up, and I was like, global warming, yes, it is. The ice caps are melting, and he's like, oh, I understand. But the only ones who willing to listen to me really is my dad. But even then, it's kind of weird. So,
Right,
this
like
doesn't make
he
sense.
understands you, but he maybe disagrees with you.
Yes, very
Yeah,
much. He's very different from my mom.
understandable. I bet you're not the only family dynamic that's that way. I can relate to my family experience. Sometimes my parents being they're a lot older than I am, of course, but I mean in the age gap of they're in their 50s and I'm in my 20s, so they had me at a later age. So with the cultural and generational gap, being an only child, I've had to encounter new situations uniquely to myself because they did not give me the not they I had to discover all the information I needed independently.
I constantly wonder where I would be if it wasn't for YouTube and Tumblr and TikTok and all these social media sites that I've dabbled in. Especially YouTube. YouTube was a very big part of my life. It still is. It was essentially like one of the first social medias, and it's now a video sharing site where you can, share your opinion. And when I was younger, I used to watch a lot of these people play Minecraft, and they would talk, over it, and like would say their opinions about games and, you know, Minecraft mods, and like here are my pros and cons of each and every mod I'm gonna play today. Here are my pros and cons of every game I'm gonna play. And they say very good things about each game that they're gonna play, and some like criticism. They're like, I like this game, the story is beautiful, but I didn't like how the graphics looked, and I learned that from YouTube that you can have an opinion and everyone can either agree or disagree, or they can be mutual and like, I agree with this, or respectfully, I don't agree with this. And I think I change, or um, I just wonder who I would be if it wasn't for technology.
Yeah, access to
I
the
really
internet.
do. The access to the internet definitely changed my life. I think it changed everyone's lives because you have more access to information, and you have the ability to share information, and you have the ability to share your experiences, whether good or bad. You have your ability to record someone like hurting you and getting them arrested. You have the ability to go to court and get a restraining order because you have video evidence. You have text messages, and
Of
you
course.
have the ability to get yourself help. Like today, accidentally, I accidentally called the SOS on my phone because I kept pressing one of the buttons that I thought was a volume button. I should probably change that. But you see, uh, I can access the medical emergencies right from my phone that I wonder where I would be with if I didn't have one. Um, what would happen if I was having a severe asthma attack? As I said, no, wait, wrong conversation. You don't know I have asthma.
No,
Um,
I don't know what you're talking about.
so I have really bad asthma, and I was talking about this with someone else.
That's okay. It, but something I do have to share is my own experience with the internet is I understand you have to just be really mindful of how you use it and what's influencing you and how you're influencing others. That's it. You have to be conscious of what's your intention on your post, the media you watch, and what kind of content you're taking in. That's all. That's what I think.
that is true. I definitely agree with that. But what I'm trying to say is that with social media, you can say any opinion you have, whether
Which
that
is
be,
good, but also there are
yeah, but
some
it can
people
be
that
definitely bad.
is just it's stupid,
Yeah, definitely. But if I didn't hear those bad opinions, where would I be?
and that's completely valid. So that's why I say you
Yeah,
can listen to it, but only for so much, because then you get
definitely.
fried, right?
Yeah, because like I don't know if I said this earlier, but I've been going around asking people their opinions, and I ran into this one kid, and he was like, "I don't like Chinese people." I was like, "Why don't you like the Chinese?" He's like, "Because they're communists. Every single Chinese person's communist." And I was like, "That seems a little racist." And then a few seconds later, we were talking, and he was like, I asked him, "Do you believe in Black Lives Matter or all lives matter?" And he said, "All lives matter." And I was like, "Even Chinese lives?" He's like, "No, not Chinese lives. They're communists." And I was like, "But you just said you believed in all lives matter, and the Chinese, they have life. So that seems a little racist to me." And what if I didn't hear that opinion? What if what if I thought that was right? Who would I be? I'm constantly thinking of that too. But why does he have that opinion? I try to ask him, why do you think every Chinese person's communist? And he said because they come from China because they're Chinese. I was like, yes, but what about the people who don't want communism that they're protesting and they're writing? They're signing petitions to get rid of communism, but you don't hear it because you only see United States news. With the power of social media, I'm sure we can reach China.
How did he reply to that?
He didn't. He ended my call because he didn't like the things I was saying.
Right, because he felt his ego was being attacked. Yeah, that's the only difficult thing. You can't control someone's ego.
I wish I could. I wish people would just like let me talk to them.
That's why you gotta be extremely empathetic. But that's why I can tell you as something that I'd say that I just want you to recognize is the ability you have to ask sincere questions and challenge people's belief systems, meanwhile being compassionate. That is a rare skill to have. And how I can identify is because I've interacted with tons of people in my life and strangers, and I've had honest conversations like you and I are discussing. And the only way it's gone to the level that I've been able to develop this is by being curious and interested and being able to understand people's opinions, regardless if I disagree.
When I was in speech and debate, I had a debate where I had to discuss, unfortunately, I had to discuss Nazis and how they were, most of them were good people. Aren't good people, they're Nazis. But then I started to think, why are they Nazis? Well, they wanted a superior race. Why do they want a superior race? Because Hitler told them they should have a superior race. Like, what if they didn't have the influence of Hitler? Where would they be? They're probably like normal Germany now. But what if they didn't have, you know?
Yeah, the complex question you're asking is looking back into the history of a group, a community, or an individual, so you can understand them and change their beliefs in a certain aspect.
Unfortunately, I believe that, or I don't know this, but I'm sure some of these people believe that, you know, the genocide of the Jewish and the homosexuals and the gypsies and all these types of communities that were in Germany at the time and around their own territory, they probably didn't support this. They probably were just too scared to say anything. They were probably good people, but, you know, they weren't. I don't think they were good enough because they didn't decide to stand up for themselves. And I think of that a lot. Like, what if there was good people in these Nazi armies that were still helping the genocide? Why aren't they saying something?
I agree with you, but that has to do with social power. It has to do with the power to. It's complicated because you know what's morally right, but you know that if you go against the authoritarian,
and risk your life and your family's lives.
Exactly. So that's why that's why it was so complicated. And to ask you, remember, you know how you just said about the minorities and why they didn't rise up, or during that process before it became concentration camps, is they just imagine being a minority. Well, I mean, we are in the United States being Latino, but I mean, such a small minority. You're like 1% of the country, and you're wealthy and upper middle class, and the majority of the nation's blaming you. What you're hoping happens is the problem is put aside, but then unfortunately, I don't know what the term or the name is called exactly, but there was a specific night around November, October, where they raided Jewish stores and just destroyed their businesses. And then from that moment, they realized they're going to be a target, and they are going to get killed if they stay in Germany. Some decided to stay because they did refuse to see the reality. Others left the country because they understood now it's fight or flight, and some of them left.
It was a very difficult debate. It was for the advanced, but like, it's such a difficult debate. How can you say that Nazis are good? You can't. If they were good, they were cowards.
I think the ideology is wrong, but I think that the German collective, their mindset, they were looking for some type of hope or someone to
Definitely.
make them feel superior because they felt like an inferior nation because of the how they were perceived in Europe during the two world wars. So
And
imagine you have this someone that's saying that you're superior, you're better, then the whole collective is going to fall in line after so much propaganda.
so I was going to use this example as to why I am grateful for having the ability to go on the internet and say, hey, this is wrong. And I can say this under an alias and under like, with VPNs. I can put a VPN on my computer and, maybe they can't track me, you know, and where would these people be if there was internet? Where would these people be if they could have the ability to say the things that they want to say without being caught? Where would these people be if they could just escape? What if this didn't happen? And it's a constant, like, existential crisis that's happening in my brain all the time. And,
I'm glad I'm
where
not
would
the
life...
only one that's having an existential crisis sometimes.
No, definitely
Okay.
no. It's normal. It's normal. It's very
I
normal.
know, I understand. It's just, I thought it was because I reached young adulthood, but you being younger, it's like, wow, okay, Gen Z is kind of a little whacked out with mental illness.
Definitely, we definitely are. No one wants to talk about us.
No, but
Because
it's okay. At least we're having an open discussion, and hopefully that this, whoever my audience is, you're going to be anonymous, so it's going to be completely fine. But this conversation will help someone else by just hearing and being inspired by the conversation.
I hope so. And even though I'm talking about very controversial things, just saying the things that I've learned and I've seen over the years of my life, even though that's been like not many compared to most, that doesn't mean I don't have experience at all. That means I don't have opinions because I had to think about everything. I've had the time to think about why I exist. I've had time to contemplate suicide, and you think I'm not mature enough to speak my mind?
Right,
Like,
you needed to develop the muscle, or not the muscle, but the type of intelligence that goes into introspection because you were dealt with existential problems like being shot at school or bullying at a severe rate that's much more influenced with social media. I had the
yeah,
fortunate blessing just to be on the cusp where it was just arriving, but I got out.
for a lot of people, their first social media was MySpace. And they used to use the site to, like, bully others, to be mean to others. But, there was a lot of good things that came out of MySpace, too. If it wasn't for MySpace, we probably wouldn't have a lot of social media that we do today. Maybe that would have saved us for having people be exposed and cancel culture. But, it also brought us a lot of good things. It's brought us new celebrities. It's brought us new politicians. It's brought us new influencers to influence the young, like me, to stand up for themselves, to believe in what they want to believe in. And whether that's unicorns or Mr. Toothberry, they believe in it. And, there's so much bad and there's so much good, but what doesn't have downsides? Um, I, I,
Yeah, like the downside is we're both losing sleep right now.
for me, it's 11. It's not that late.
Oh, okay. That's good for you.
But, I was going to. Oh, I've had a lot of time to be on social media and to see the good. And if I focus on the bad, there will be no progressive change. If that makes sense. Like, if I say, um, like, let's say there's this really big influencer. Her name's Rosa. Like Rosity, keep that name. And she just said, I agree with Nazis. And you're like, why do you agree with Nazis? That's so awful. I'm gonna unsubscribe from her. And you're gonna, like, we should take Rosa D off the platform. Obviously, she's spreading hateful words. So I'm gonna focus on the bad to create good, so I can see less bad in the social media. If that makes any sense with my analogy. God, I'm so bad.
No,
It's like,
you're don't
oh,
be so self-conscious. You're doing a good job, like you said. It's your first time being able to articulate your thoughts in a conversation. It takes time. So far, I'm understanding.
okay. Hopefully you do understand because I try to create metaphors so people can understand what I'm trying
No,
to
and that's a
tell
great
you.
way to help people understand something because when you say it, or in my own experience too, when you tell somebody or try to make them teach them a new concept, teaching articulating it in an intellectual way, it's like what you have to give like a little story, a metaphor, an
Yeah,
analogy, so it's
it's
much more easily
difficult
grasped.
because there's so many things that I can talk about that I've been dying to talk about, but can't or won't because I can't formulate the words to. Um, because like what I'm trying to explain, long story short, is there's so much bad, but there's good intentions. There's so much bad with really bad intentions, you know? There's bad innocently being bad, you know? Like if a little boy, there's like tons of like children on YouTube. If a little boy was like, I like Barbie dolls. And someone was like, why do you like Barbie dolls? You're a little boy. Why do you like Barbies? Um, you know, they're probably gonna go and like go around the internet and like cancel this boy, cancel culture, this tiny child who's trying to, you know, do something fun because he likes Barbie dolls. There's so much. See where I'm trying to go with that, like, um, and you know, people are just trying to be themselves, and unfortunately, a lot of that is bad. But you know, I can't keep looking at the bad if I'm gonna try to be positive. Where am I trying to go with this? I don't know.
I don't know, just allow yourself to be. I'm just listening.
No, but I there's so many things that I just
How about this?
want to
What
get
was
words to.
you asked me in the beginning of this conversation on my opinion on on what would we call United States citizens because of
Yeah.
being called American, and then everyone else in the Americas are like, but I'm American too. I don't know. I don't know what's the solution to that, but all I know is the Latinos or Canadians don't have a big deal if you consider yourself American. I just know the ones that get butthurt about it are the ones that say, but I'm an American. So I don't know.
I agree with that. You know, and you know, I probably would have never known that if you didn't tell me because how I view things can be different from how you view things, and I had to learn that. You know, why do you view it? I mean, I've discussed this before, but I originally saw it because I was watching this video of this girl who's like, "You're in America, speak English." She's like, "But I am American, and I will speak Spanish because that's my right as an American. I'm from Central America." And it kind of like, why do we call each other American? You know, why did the United States take it? Why are we called the United States of America? Um, like, I get it why we're called, you know, the United States because we're a bunch of states and we're united in America, North America. But why are we the ones who are called American? Is it because it's in our
The
name?
dominant culture that who's have been the dominant power in the North
Yeah,
and South America. That's why.
definitely. And I've been asking people these questions and like if you were to see, like if you do you want to see change in this? Um, and I've gotten a lot of answers of yeah, I do. I never thought of it before. And I've gotten one, no, I don't. I don't see the problem in it. Um, I think personally, I don't like being called American because I do think of the United States of America. I don't think of, um, you know, who really deserves the name America. I don't think, I don't know. It's hard to say, you know, because there's so many different things we could have called each other. That, you know, said something, uh, called each other like, what if our culture name was George? after
Well,
Wikipedia.
until then, we gotta keep with what's there right now because there's not a new
Yeah,
term that's developed yet.
there isn't. But like, why America? Like, where did we get the name America? Because like, I don't think people knew that there was Americas. So who created this name?
Colonizers.
Okay, like yes, but um,
To give
just
you the specific story, I have that's beyond me. I forgot, but I
yeah,
just
it's okay. Because there were so many cultures who came in and like started to take over. There was the French, there was Spaniard, there was the English, the Europeans. Um, you know, there was the Mongols in Asia, and there was the Japanese, the Chinese, and the Russians. They're all Germany was trying to take over each other's land and stuff like that. But from I don't know, it's just like kind of the why are we called this, constantly in my head. Like I want to know the answer to everything, and what if people know it and I don't?
that's great that you want to do that. But word of advice with wanting to be so curious and ask why so much. Sometimes you're gonna run into a roadblock when there is no why, and you just have to accept what it is at the moment. You can change it eventually, but when you hit that roadblock, to just accept it for what it is at the moment, then have the time to think about how to solve the problem if it is one, and if it isn't,
Yeah.
to allow it to be.
It was a small comment that I was just kind of going full speed at, um, you know, and it led to other questions like the one kid I was talking about who hated Chinese people, but it started with why if someone from Mexico um, is someone from Mexico American, and he said no. I'm like, why do you say that? And that led to, do you support Black Lives Matter? Do you support All Lives Matter? And that's like, you think, what do you think is better? Communism, socialism, democracy, like, and then it goes into are you Republican, Democrat, Socialist? All those things. And I've learned a lot of things that I've never known before just by asking people. They may not make sense. They may not be problems, but they're things that I thought about that, I do need answers to. And sometimes a quick Google search doesn't really help. Also, I'm kind of afraid of viruses on random websites and them tracking. So,
Yeah.
you know, um, that's
Then
why I like this.
ultimately, you're on here to just see different perspectives, and by see I mean understand people's beliefs, their
Definitely.
experiences, and how you can apply it in your own life if it is something you objectively think is true and that you want
Yes.
to acquire in your character. And if it's not, that it's good that you be able to understand someone who's disagreeing with you or on the opposite side of what you believe in, so you can have that rational perspective and objective, like to know how to understand them.
Yeah. And it's I'm so sorry. I just had something pop up. Sorry. Um, I also go on here to hear people's stories. Like I learned a lot about these random people I've
That's
never met
exactly
before.
why I'm on this.
you
I
know,
need to interact. I need to socialize. I'm an extrovert.
yeah, me too. And I would have never known that. I would have never known you existed if it wasn't from going on here. I learned that someone had a very similar experience to me, and I would have never known. So I would have never known that someone was on the same. Um, sorry, I would have never known someone was like on the same boat as me, or had the same like opinions or weird thoughts, and like we were talking about mental illness. Not we, but me and the self person. Um, we were talking about mental illness, and we are talking about our experiences with mental illness. And he's like, I call this little voice in my head that I have here that just speaks randomly, little shithead. And I was like, what? And he's like, when you that little voice in your head that say you're not good enough. Well, I call it the little shithead, and it's like, I completely agree. I have the exact same thing. That's telling him that the something that's so small and insignificant that we never think about and that we cannot control, that we both have it, and that multiple people have it, and it's just something that is normal. But it probably shouldn't be normal, but it is. Um, and it's more common than we believe it is. And I would have probably never really thought of it if it wasn't for him talking about it. And I gave him out my experience, and he's like, "Oh, my girlfriend goes to that prom too." And I was like, "Oh, see, it's not only me, and it's not a weird thing."
Yeah, it's the moment to be courageous enough to be vulnerable and share and transform the experiences, so you transform your character.
And on this, website, we all know mutually that we're never going to see each other again. We're probably never going to meet each other. We're never going to talk ever again. We may never cross paths, but we did today, and we have something to share.
Yeah, we've shared the same beliefs and principles, and that reinforces me to feel reassured that what I stand for is credible and continue to be on this path with my principles because it is the virtuous path.
Yeah, I agree with that. I very much do agree. That's the glory of what we all do here. Even though if it's them showing off their penis, trying to win and find out who the best
Yeah,
girl.
no, those are the dudes that are. I think they got some other kind of mental issues that they're lacking some kind of
Even those
cognitive
people,
development to make themselves feel that this is the rush they need to go enjoy themselves.
but even those people, they have this mutual agreement in their head that we're never going to see each other. I'm going to skip you because I find you disgusting. Someone might just stay by and do whatever with you, and I might find that disgusting, but they might write down. But that doesn't, we have this, as I said, we have this agreement that we're never going to talk again. We're never going to share experiences again. We're never going to see each other. And now I have your face in my brain, and now I'm going to have a random dream about me dying in the woods, and you might be the serial killer because apparently your brain saves everyone's face. So, yeah,
Damn, that was pretty dark, but that's okay. I know where you're going with that story. It's
not a
just
casual dream. Confused.
I last time I had a dream, it's pretty nice. Honestly, I was just relaxed.
I dream every night. Um,
But
I
but I did want to include some point to what you said before.
okay.
Uh, Damn, let me just try to remember. It was about something with all mutually being on here. Right. There's something about when you discuss with a stranger. It's the ability to have the freedom to be honest because they're so far removed from your social circle. I think that it allows you to be completely honest and kind of decompartmentalize your
Mhm.
experiences. But once the stranger starts to evolve to be acquainted, know the narrative of your story, and the only way for them to know you more is you have to be completely honest with your experience. That's where I've experienced and what I've witnessed two kinds of individuals. The individual that is courageous enough to be frank and honest about their experiences, or the one that hesitates and pauses and stops at that boundary, which is understandable. But I think there's this power in, we both discussed, as how I'm going to be anonymous when I put this voice recording up, is being anonymous gives you the power to be completely truthful and honest, but also it's even more bold when you're not attaching, being completely truthful while maintaining your integrity and standing for who you are and saying, this is what I represent, this is who I am.
Yeah. I think it's very important to be yourself, but it's very difficult and scary to be yourself, and that's why I do go on here. It's
Right,
because
because you're
I
going to
feel
have the opposition always against you because that's
yeah,
life. And the reality is, there are going to be supporters. Those are going to be the people that love you unconditionally. But the majority of of people in society are going to be discouraging you and actually wanting to see you fail.
But that's the beauty of this, website, and the beauty of the internet.
Yeah.
It's also a curse, but it's it's something that we all have to be saved. It's I like this because it's, how can I say this? It's like a mask of um
It's a new
of
identity to create
yeah,
because
it's a
with
new
an
identity.
representing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because for me, I feel like I have a mask when I'm around my family. I feel like I remove that mask every time I'm around my friends. But I feel like I'm half masked, and like, with a face mask, where you can only see my eyes when my friends are at my house.
Mm.
um, because I, like, even now, I'm like, I want to speak my mind, but I'm whispering into this microphone because I don't want anyone to hear me. Um, it's very different, and it's very comforting to know that someone does care, and I would have never known that anyone cared. And you didn't say something to me, like you didn't have to stay here this long. You
Mm.
didn't have to say like, "Hey, I find you interesting," but you did, and I appreciate that a lot. I feel like I never get a chance
Well,
to listen.
you're young, so you'll fortunately meet people that are similar in what you represent in your character. Is just it takes a lot of character development and then right time, right place, right community. You'll understand what I mean when you grow and go throughout the living in society and growing older. But the best way to encounter people is just continuously practicing and maintaining your principles, and you'll run across the same quality of character of individuals in your life.
I hope one day I can come out to my family as like, "Hey, here's my opinions. Hey, this is who I am."
Yeah, and I think right now is not the appropriate
I think
time
so
because I
too.
think you're still under their supervision, right? I think the
Yeah,
best time will be when you reach adulthood and you stabilize yourself. I,
I always felt like that too.
I think that's going to be when you have the right time and right place and right relationships and your own individual self-esteem needs, and you've stabilized yourself that you will love your family, but you can be able to healthily distance yourself from your family unit because you live under their household, and if you disagree with whoever, I don't know who is the big dog of the house, but
My mom.
yeah, you don't want to have any disagreements because in it you can't win that war. That is a battle only.
I tried multiple
Of
times,
course you
but
tried, but
it doesn't work.
the only way you're
Yeah,
gonna win that war is when you're on your own territory. Right now, you're not in your own territory.
I know. I was actually saying this to my friend the other day, where I was like, I can't wait to move out of this house so I can finally be me. Where I can finally be like, hey, here's some pride flags all over my house. Here's some, cute things. Because my mom says you can't have toys if you're above the age of 10. Why do you have stuffed animals? Because I find them freaking adorable. So,
Right, the
I
gender
am.
role stuff, but I have hope and optimism for you that you will persevere through these obstacles right now because you have the right character. All you have to do is just continuously persevere, and in those small moments of actions on your routines and daily basis, just commit to the process. That's really all it is.
And I know I'm not the only one who's like this.
Because
And
I'm going through the same experience as well because I have my own unique obstacles, and what I've came to realize is the power of self-discipline and be able to create your own routines and commitments, and understanding your personality and your unconscious behaviors, your emotional needs and your support system, and all these things have to do with um, how to be a rational educated adult. But when you just grasp all this knowledge and utilize it That's where you become, well, a individual.
People say that being a grown up means that you can legally drink and you can have a child and you're married and things like that. I think you're an adult when you can move out of your house and you can stabilize yourself and you can, formulate an opinion and you can be mature. You don't necessarily need to be this picture perfect 50s family.
To add on to your comment, what I think by being a young adult is the term what makes you an adult when people say be a man as what it does for my gender as being a male or a woman with be a woman. Regardless of sex, what it really means is take responsibility for your life in all areas. So it means your physical life, your artistic, your social, your spiritual, your economic, financial, and intellectual life. All those categories. When you do that, you'll have the freedom to maneuver however you want or do whatever you want with your life. Because that's the ultimate, I think, gift of being an adult. You have the freedom to choose who you want to be and what you want to do with your time.
I think this is a really good place to
Now,
end
okay,
it.
so go for it. Tell the people whatever you want to say about your experience or whoever listens to this, what you want them to get out of it.
If you're listening to this, don't be afraid, but it's okay if you are. Stand for what you believe in, whether if you think it's right, whether you think everyone around you is wrong. Stand for it and listen to others. Please listen to others. You got to listen to everyone to be a mature person and formulate good opinions that you have facts and stuff to back you up on. Never just formulate an opinion just because. Always think before you speak. Or you can be like me and ramble on with the same 2 sentences over and over again in different ways. But it's okay if you have disabilities or problems and whether or not you feel comfortable sharing things. It's okay. Just be yourself. And it's okay to be afraid.
Very
Okay,
true. And then
thank
you
you
act
so
with
much.
courage. Oh my God. I've genuinely have enjoyed this hour talking to you. I can't wait to edit this and upload it. Man, you inspired me, man. I haven't felt
Thank you so
inspired by
much.
another human being in a while, so I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it too. I've never had someone, you know, like literally thank me for being alive. Besides my mom who's getting the checks because I'm a child.
Yeah,
So
you got
thank
a good
you.
head on your shoulders, and I hope that video when you like it and it'll be archived into your channel. It'll be like a little time capsule for you.
Hope so, and I hope I grow, and I hope I don't grow the wrong way.
As long as you maintain and be consistent, then you'll be on the right path. Same with me. That accountability. Let's strive for being what we want to see in the world.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm gonna go feed my cat.
Okay, yeah, I got a cat too. She's sleeping. All right. You have a good one. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Goodbye.
You too. Bye bye.